Welcome back to my rubber heart. Today I would like to celebrate a true milestone in synthetic rubber history because just a few weeks ago, on June 12th, it was the anniversary of the first patent filed for butyl rubber. That was back in 1937 when William Sparks and Robert Thomas at Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, what would later become ExxonMobil, filed the first patent describing this unique material. At that time, the world was on the cusp of war, and there was a looming shortage of natural rubber. Countries were desperate to find alternatives that could insulate cables, seal containers, and stand up to aging in a way natural rubber simply couldn't. Out of that pressure came the innovation of butyl rubber, technically known as isobutylene-isoprene rubber, or IIR. The original patent laid out how a small amount of isoprene, just enough to create a lightly unsaturated backbone, could be copolymerized with isobutylene. The result was a rubbery polymer with a very low level of unsaturation, and that single structural decision is what gives butyl rubber its remarkable air impermeability and excellent resistance to weathering and ozone. Unlike natural rubber or SBR, butyl has only a tiny fraction of double bonds, usually less than 2% of the chain, which means it doesn't degrade in oxygen nearly as fast. When you look at the properties of butyl rubber, that low unsaturation is at the heart of its performance. You get outstanding resistance to gases, making it perfect for inner tubes, bladders, and liners. Its damping and vibration absorption are excellent, which is why you see it in automotive mounts and isolation pads. Chemically, it resists most acids and bases, and because the chains are so regular and tightly packed, it has great electrical insulation. But those same benefits bring a challenge. The low unsaturation makes curing a little tricky. If you are formulating a compound with butyl rubber, you have to be thoughtful about the cure system you choose. Traditional sulfur cures don't work particularly well because there simply aren't enough double bonds to form long sulfur crosslinks. That is why butyl rubber often relies on accelerated sulfur cure packages using higher dosages of sulfur and powerful accelerators like thiorams and dithiocarbomates. These produce shorter polysulfidic and monosulfidic crosslinks, and you need to manage scorch carefully to avoid premature curing. Alternatively, one of the most important advances was the development of halogenated butyl rubber, like chlorobutyl and bromobutyl. By introducing halogen atoms along the chain, you open the door to faster and more efficient curing, particularly with zinc oxide or resin cure systems. Halogenation increases polarity and reactivity, so you can vulcanize butyl with more unsaturated rubbers, creating blends that would otherwise be impossible. When you build a cure package, you have to consider that butyl is quite sensitive to cure system compatibility. Peroxide curing, for example, can be used especially in blends with EPDM or other saturated rubbers, but it can lead to some embrittlement if the formulation isn't adjusted with coagents like TMP-TMA to achieve good crossing density. Speaking of blends, butyl rubber pairs well with a few other elastomers, depending on what you need in your finished part. Blending with natural rubber or SBR can improve green strength and processability, but it will reduce gas impermeability somewhat. Blending with EPDM can improve heat aging while maintaining good electrical properties. Blending with nitrile rubber can increase oil resistance, although the polarity gap makes compatibility more challenging, often requiring careful selection of compatibilizers or halogenation. In terms of application, butyl rubber has carved out an essential role in the tire industry. It's the material of choice for inner liners in tubeless tires because no other rubber matches its combination of elasticity and low gas permeability. The same impermeability is why it's used in inflatable bladders, sporting goods like basketballs, and protective gloves that need to keep out moisture and chemicals. In construction, butyl rubber shows up in sealants, roofing membranes, and vapor barriers, where long-term weathering resistance matters. Another important application is vibration damping. Butyl's damping capacity is higher than many general-purpose rubbers, which makes it effective in automotive and industrial mounts. Its electrical insulation and chemical resistance are why you'll find it in cable sheets and chemical tank linings. So, if you are developing a compound and thinking about using butyl rubber, remember that it's not just about the properties it brings straight out of the bale. It's about understanding the reactivity of its backbone, designing the cure package to fit that chemistry, and carefully considering how it interacts with any blend partners you choose. Those decisions make the difference between a compound that seals, insulates, and lasts, and one that falls short. Thanks for joining me on my rubber heart to explore the fascinating story and science of butyl rubber. If you would like to dive deeper into halogenated butyl formulations or get examples of specific recipes and performance data, let me know. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more insights into the materials that keep our world running. See you next time.